Today I'm going to show you how I installed this solar screen on my front porch.
This is the porch frame that we're framing in with the porch screen system.
Here is the screen system close up, and you can see it's about an 1.5 inches wide. The cap is a little bit bigger because it's got to cover the black base plate. So this is the base plate, and I just want to show you it is kind of flexible. See how it's easy to bend. And these are the channels that you put your screen in. And if this is going to be your bottom frame, and then the frame comes around here, the rest of it, this is a place on the inside is where you, right in here, this is where you would place your screen, and then your spline goes in this one as well. And then once the screen is all done, the cap is placed on and it snaps into place. And what I used was a hammer that was covered with a cloth so that it wouldn't damage the top as I pushed it into place. And that holds it. So I just want to show you the close-up of this. Now this is pretty flexible here. You can see how it's easy. It bends very easily. So that is the screen system up close, right here.
And previously I had just wood frames. You can see the wood stripping, and we just stapled the screen to the wood strips. It was just corner molding. And now we're going to be upgrading it to that smart system. And you can see that this is just a 2x4 frame on a little mini brick wall. So we bricked in the wall, made a mini wall on our porch, and then we 2x4 framed it. And now we're installing that porch system. But this is the framing system. I just wanted to show you what it looked like. We had existing screen up here for, I'd say, around 20 years maybe, with the old system, with the, the thin molding strips. And now we're just upgrading. And here's our door entranceway. It's just a 2x4 frame. The tracks are all screwed in, and it took us approximately 2 hours, a little bit under because we had to repair a door as well, to screw in the tracks. It was myself, who's 55, and my son, who's 17. And he was doing all the cutting and measuring, and I was screwing everything in. When I screwed it in, I screwed above and below the screw holes. I found that was better because sometimes my screws would just go right through that hole, despite the screws being big enough. And I also added a little bit more screws where needed because it showed a little buckling here and there. So I added more screws. And for this 6x21 foot porch, I used almost 2 packages of screws, and there were packages of 100. So we used almost 200 screws. So that's good to know because I was almost going to buy just 1 package, and the last minute when I was at the register I ran back and got another package. You do need to use a lot of screws and even screw in more than recommended, I noticed, with the buckling of the plastic backing strips. You can see here I gave an extra support here, especially at the top where there's going to be a lot of tension. You can see I have the facing strips already cut as well. So when we trimmed and cut the track strips, my son also cut the facing strips so that we could save time. And now I'm going to tape up the screen and then splice it in. After doing a lot of research, the screen I'm using is this 3-in-1 by Phifer. It blocks 65% of the sun's rays, and I really wanted some solar screen here. The solar screen to do this porch on the front, just the front, not including the side panel, would have been between $200 and $300. And so this 3-in-1 screen, it blocks bugs and the solar is was around $79. And that's just for the front panels here. I did not do solar on my side panel here, because then I would have had to buy another roll. So I'll do the front face all solar screen. That way when the sun sets, it's going to set soon, it beats right in here. So I need solar screen here, especially during the summer. I'm going to show you how I did my 4x4 post. I bought the 3.5-inch track for the center. And then you can see how we butted up the two narrow pieces, like so. You can see where I added extra screws. If I had any buckling, I did that. Well, I tried taping the piece and my piece is just too big, it's falling down. So what I did was I just used the spline and attached a few little sections at the top. And then once that was attached, you know, a couple on the ends and then one in the middle. Then once that was attached, I did the spline correctly, fully at the top. And I had to pull out the ones that I attached it to in the beginning because the spline was a little loose. So masking tape didn't work because it's too heavy. So I just went to the center, attached the screen with a little bit of the spline, and then went to each end and attached it. And then I went back and started on one end and rolled the top spline. So the top spline is completely done correctly. And now, before I make my side cuts, I want them to be pretty straight. So I'm going to attach, before I even cut the screen, I'm going to attach the second panel here. And then once that's attached, then I'll trim the screen. But I didn't want to trim the screen and then be off or crooked. I want to get the tops done first, and then I want to do my sides. And this took about 25 minutes to do by myself. I lost my partner. He ended up going out somewhere, and so I just hung this myself, and it was fairly easy. I have all the screens pretty much in place. I have one little area that I haven't finished off yet, and I want to show you that. It's a condition that you might experience. Actually, I have two of them. One was in this inside corner area here down at the back, and you can really see the difference between the sunscreen and then this is just a regular cheap screen from the Home Depot. The solar screen is, you know, visibly darker. And the cheap screen is almost clear. The sun doesn't come in this side. That's why I didn't order extra screen to come in here that was more expensive. It came in 25-foot lengths, and I would have had to have ordered another 25-foot length
just for this 6-foot piece. And I opted not to do that at this time. When I'm ready to do my windows and such, I'll rescreen this area. This was 6 foot tall. And I think I ordered the 72 inch. That's what it was. And it had fit completely. It fit very easily. It seemed like there was a little bit extra even. So if you're right at your 72 inches like I was, you have plenty of room for top to bottom. I was a little concerned about that, but the screen, like I said, was a little bit wider than, or taller than 72 inches. I'm going to show you what I did for my inside corner piece here. I had a 4x4 post that was built into the porch already, pre-existing. And so what I installed on this side, let's see if I can get it in focus here. So it'll focus on the outside. Let me step back. So what I installed, here's the 4x4 post here. So what I installed flush with the 4x4 post, and you can see how the screen system is installed on that. So it's past my 4x4 post, the screen system. I installed a 2x2 pressure treated here. Here's the outside view. You can see it a lot better from the outside view. So the 2x2 post that was pressure treated, I installed up this area here. And it's flush with the 4x4 post on the inside. Now all of my screen system, I had to install on the inside of the porch. It's recommended that you install it on the outside of the porch, but because of the decorative trim, I needed to install it on the inside of the porch. If I had installed it on the outside of the porch, on the 2x4s here, on the outside, then the decorative trim wouldn't have shown. The reason you install it on the outside, as opposed to how I did it, is because the leaves can build up here. You can see here it's already building up. My plan is to just take a blower from the inside and blow them out, but that is a concern. So if you are installing it and don't have decorative trim, it would be installed on the outside. This is the view from the outside, and I want to show you how dark it is during the day. Now, compared to the screen door, I haven't replaced my screen door yet. So that's the color of your standard screens that come with screen doors. Now I'm still repairing that screen door and replacing things, so it's not quite all painted and finished up, but I wanted to show you before I repaired my screen door the comparison between the solar screen, the 3-in-1 solar screen, and a standard screen that comes with your door. So if you're not interested in replacing your door screen, but it's not hard to replace that screen on the door to match, and that's what I'm going to do because I have some holes in there. And the screen door is about 10-15 years old. This is what the 2x2 looks like on the inside. So I went ahead and installed the black base plate of the screen system on the front of that 2x2 for the frame of this side. And I put the screen on the inside, the first track, because there's 2 tracks that come with the system. So the first track, the screen was for this side, the side that doesn't face the street. And then the second side of the screen track system, I went ahead and attached the front screen. And it really didn't make a difference in the corner areas because the corners pieces came right together, as you can see here. So I was able to do that installing only one 2x2 piece. If I installed another 2x2 piece here, that would have been possible as well, but it wasn't necessary, so I didn't bother to do it. It was a bit easier to do it this way. I think that this is the better way because I was concerned with having the second 2x2 post being in the way of the first screen tight system. The base plate may have blocked it. So this was a fine, easy solution, and this works. Another thing I want to mention with this system is you do not need to cut the screen exactly perfect to match. So look, I left about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch over. This is more like probably a 1/2 inch. That way, if I ever have to adjust this screen in the future, or if this pulls out, I have plenty of room for me to play with. If you cut it with your razor blade right to it, you're not going to be able to pull anything. And I haven't tightened this front screen completely yet. I did all 4 sides, and then sometimes you have to go back and tighten a little area here or adjust it. And so I have plenty of room here to play with to adjust my screens if I need to. The cap that comes in, these little extra pieces I found aren't affecting the cap plate that goes on top of this. And also remember that rule when you're cutting things. Measure twice, cut once. And here you can see where we were off on our measurement and it was cut a little bit short. So we're piecing it together, and then I'm going to caulk that area on the white so it won't show. And unfortunately, I only had 1 piece of that wide screen system. I'm going to show you how I finished off this difficult area. I could have had an option of removing this trim board on the house, but then I decided not to. And I think it'll be fine just like this. This is how I'm going to screen that in. So now I'll attach my screen to this corner area here. Here's some tips that I found helpful. First of all, don't overscrew the screws in. That causes buckling of the black plate. I also found that it's easier to screw in not in the pre-drilled holes, but right next to it. When I drilled in the pre-drilled holes, sometimes my screws went right through. When attaching your base plate to a corner, leave a little space because the white cap is going to come on here and there's not a lot of room to attach it to. It needs a little space on the edge, so don't butt up the black plate right to the corner of the house. Another piece of information I want to mention is that my base plates, the black plates, hung down slightly from the 2x4. So the 2x4 was not quite wide enough to fit the base plate because I have this siding that's on the house up here. It hung off probably less than 1/4 inch, but that was okay. It didn't affect the way my screening system went in, and it didn't affect how the screens can pull tight. So having it hang over the 2x4 a little bit is okay. I'm going to share with you another tip I learned, that when you're making the cuts, I would cut all the verticals first and then cut your horizontal strip, which is the longer strip here. Cut those after, because you can go underneath, and I didn't learn this until after we were installing. You can take the plastic horizontal strip and it can slightly go underneath the vertical. And I didn't realize they would clip on that way. I thought they had to butt up flush. Like, for example, this space is almost flush with each other. There's just a very slight gap. And that we could probably fill with caulking if we didn't want to see that white line here where the 2 pieces meet. But I'm going to show you what you could do, and we didn't learn this until after. Now here's an example of one that is going underneath each other. So the side panels overlap the bottom panel. And I think this looks a little bit neater, and it's just slightly overlapped, so the side panel's slightly on top, and it has a little bit of a give, so it's able to do that. And I think it looks neater. Now I don't know how over time this will hold up, but it seems to be secure. I don't know if it'll pop off or not because it's not completely sealed at the bottom, the vertical piece. But that's an option. My pieces aren't doing that because I figured out this after. But I think it looks better. Here is the completed screens. I've got the whole thing done and up. It was relatively very easy. I even rescreened my front screen door. We did make some cuts that were a little bit too short that I'm just going to have to adjust. I'm just going to fill them with some scrap pieces of the white. It's okay if the black is a little short on your ends, but the white is where it comes together, and you want that to show. And I am going to caulk some of the seams here because I don't like the look of that. That was a mistake up there. And I think if I were to do this again, I would have the post. We ended up cutting this piece, the 4x4 post in the center, to match the frame length, but I think I would have just had it go right to the ground. I think that would have been a cleaner look. But my corners worked out really well adapting like that. And even on this side, this worked out really well. I'll show you the finished corner up in here where I had the different levels of wood, and that worked out fine. And here's the corner in here. And there's the outside screen. And it's really, it does give you a lot of privacy as far as looking in. It's not that clear screen. It's that standards clear screen. And we still have a lot of painting and trim work to do, but I just wanted to show you what the screen looked like. And here's the screen on the side that doesn't have the sun protection on it. You can see in a lot more compared to the front. I want to thank you for tuning in, and I hope this video has helped you in your decision on screening in your porch. I want to take time right now to thank all of my patrons who support this channel, and if you would like to join my Patreon account, you may click on the title of the video and it will take you to the Patreon account.